If the United States collapses, people imagine chaos everywhere. But the truth is, collapse never hits all regions at the same time. Some zones will fall in hours. Others might resist for days. And a few could survive for weeks, maybe even months, simply because of things like geography, water access, elevation, or just the absence of millions of desperate people nearby. Today, we're mapping the 10 safest zones in America if the country faces a long-term, nationwide collapse. This isn't some fantasy scenario. This is based on real data: water sources, grid redundancy, migration patterns, climate stress, and population density. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why some regions would endure much longer, while others could be wiped out almost instantly. Let's dive in and see where these safe havens are. Stay tuned. Let's begin. Kicking things off at number 10, we have rural Maine, specifically the northern and western counties. Why here? Simple. There are zero megacities nearby. You've got high elevation with a low flood risk, and the population is incredibly sparse. We're talking about 12 people per square mile, one of the lowest densities on the East Coast. The cold climate would slow the spread of disease, and there's an abundance of forests and fresh water. Plus, natural barriers would block huge waves of refugees. In a collapse, the entire Northeast would likely flood south and west, not north. Maine becomes a blind spot hard to reach, hard to invade, and easy to sustain, buying you precious days, maybe even weeks. Coming in at number 9 is the Adirondacks in upstate New York, and no, this has absolutely no connection to New York City. It's a completely different world. The mountains and cold climate act as natural defensive barriers. There are freshwater lakes everywhere, and there are no direct, wide-open roads from NYC without hitting major choke points. With a population density of about 30 people per square mile, any mass migration from NYC, New Jersey, or Connecticut would bottleneck long before reaching this remote sanctuary. This could give you a solid 1 to 2 weeks of lead time. At number 8, we head to northern Minnesota, around the Lake Superior Highlands. The key here? Access to the largest freshwater system on Earth. If the grid goes down, water becomes the most critical resource, and Minnesota has a nearly limitless supply. The cold climate restricts large-scale population movement. The water tables are stable, and the vast forest coverage means an abundance of resources. Crucially, it's far from major collapse centers. While other places run dry, this region could hold out for weeks. Next up, at number 7, is the Ozark Plateau, covering northern Arkansas and southern Missouri. This area is a fortress built by nature. It's high ground, filled with natural springs and freshwater caves, and the terrain itself provides excellent defense. It's also got a low population and the capability for agriculture. The Ozarks are essentially a self-contained biome difficult to get into, but easy to defend once you're there. This could buy you 2 to 3 weeks of relative safety. And for number 6, we're going to eastern Washington. In the Columbia River Basin, this region has a huge advantage: hydropower from the Columbia River, which means it would likely be one of the very last grids to fail. It's geographically isolated from the chaos of a Seattle or Portland collapse. The population is low outside of Spokane, and a semi-arid climate means a lower risk of disease spread. When Seattle and Portland fall, the Cascade Mountains act as a giant filter, protecting the basin to the east. It's like a different universe over there. At number 5, we head to central and western Wyoming. The key here is emptiness. Wyoming is practically a fortress of solitude. It boasts the highest average elevation in the lower 48, massive protected lands, and an extremely low population density. With stable rivers like the Snake and Green and no major cities nearby to create population pressure, this emptiness becomes a powerful tool for survival, buying precious time. Number 4 takes us to western Montana, specifically the Flathead, Missoula, and Bitterroot valleys. This area is a powerhouse of natural resources. Think glacier-fed lakes, high elevations, and a mix of agriculture and abundant water. It's incredibly distant from any megacity, and its cold climate would naturally slow down any large-scale migration. Montana offers a profile for long-term sustainability that few other places can match. Our number 3 spot is the Idaho Panhandle, the region around Sandpoint and Coeur d'Alene. Geographically, this area is a natural fortress. It's surrounded by mountains, has deep freshwater reserves, and benefits from that same reliable Columbia Basin hydropower. With a low population and no direct corridor for refugees from a major city, it's one of the most defensible spots on the map. In the number 2 position, we find a surprise contender, the Appalachian Spine. This rugged mountain range stretching from West Virginia through eastern Kentucky and down into the Tennessee highlands is far more resilient than people think. The mountains provide a natural barrier from the massive population centers on the East Coast. The region is rich with forests, water, and has a redundant power mix of both coal and hydro. The risk of being overrun by large-scale migration is incredibly low. And now for the number 1 safest zone in America, the Inland Northwest Shield. This is the tri-state area where Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming meet. This region is the holy trinity of survival. It has everything: cold temperatures, high elevation, abundant fresh water, low population density, and a geography that naturally slows or even stops mass migration. It's the only place in the U.S. that ticks all the boxes: stable water, stable agriculture, low heat stress, mountain protection, few entry points, and no megacities within reach. In a total collapse scenario, this tri-state region would likely become the last stable cluster in the entire country, buying its residents the most valuable resource of all: time. These regions don't survive on luck. They survive because they are hard to reach, hard to overwhelm, and naturally rich in everything a collapsing society loses first: water, elevation, resources, and quiet. If you're curious about the other side of the coin, our video on the 10 most fragile cities in a collapse is already live on the channel. And stay tuned, because our next video will map out the best evacuation routes from every major US city. Welcome to 0 Hour Atlas, where we prepare for the world as it is, not as we wish it to be. Thanks for watching.